Have you ever wondered whether the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment, and acted from that place?
Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your hosts Brian Berneman and Kayla Greenville, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world.
We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and changemakers.
From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and I have the pleasure to be joined all the way from, at the moment, in Dallas, United States, by Zahra Karsan. Thank you, Zahra, so much for taking the time to be here and for what I know that is going to be a lovely conversation. And to start, I want you to tell all of us that we are here a little bit about yourself and your story.
Well, thank you, Brian. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your audience. So my name is Zahra Karsan. My story is, I was a management consultant for many years. I became a master in delivering successful results and managing risk and removing obstacles and barriers to success. So that became part of a winning formula for how to do life, because I realized we were doing really well at our professional lives and managing our careers with some structure, but very few of us actually took that approach into our personal lives with any real commitment. And so I thought it was a really interesting path, because my background was I studied psychology. I have a background in neuroscience and positive psychology as well, which is, I just was really fascinated by the human journey and what it means to be a human being and why things seem so challenging at times for some people and easier for others, and how some people have found that, winning formula to happiness, and others have found what it is to be successful. And so many others are stuck in this big box of, let's call it living unconsciously, if you will, living on autopilot almost, where life is happening for them, life is happening to them, versus us choosing how we want to think, feel, and behave. So I became really fascinated with that gap and with human behavior and how to move past our blocks, how to move past those barriers to success and to happiness. And what I came to realize is, we really evolved to be good at survival, and sometimes that's counter to our desire and our goals towards happiness and success. And so that became my fixation. I became obsessed with trying to understand how to unlock that. Mainly it was for my own self journey. But once I discovered how to do that for myself, it literally was a matter of weeks. Years of study. But then as I applied the techniques from all different modalities, which was a strange combination because my path was a strange path, and I realized, wow, I've never felt so peaceful. I've never felt so productive, so focused. And then magic just started happening in my life. I would think I need this opportunity, or I need to partner with this type of resource, whether it was finance or legal or PR or marketing, and it would just show up. And I thought, wow, I don't fully understand this, so let me try and understand it. And I went off down this path of studying all of these different fields of expertise, neuroscience being one of them, because I wanted to understand, where is the mind and where is the soul? It's not, is it in our brain? Is it in our body? Is it in our energy? Is it in our, where is it? And how can we tap into it so that we can be empowered and reach our peak potential as human beings? And what does that mean? And I came to realize it's not a one-size-fits-all formula. It's very personal. Your journey is going to be very different than your friends, your siblings, your parents, your children. Same for me. How you like to exercise, how you like to eat is literally unique just to you. Your talents and gifts that you bring to this world are completely tied to your passion and your purpose. So what is this thing called happiness? And how do we get there? How do we do it, right? I apologize for the puppies in the background. They're pure love. They're bringing you all love. So how about that? So I became fascinated with this gap. And when I figured out the winning formula and found myself feeling lighter and more successful and happier than ever before, I said, okay, I need to understand how I can share this with other people. And so then I set off to start study all of the science behind it. And what I realized was I was seeing patterns in my coaching clients. I had a coaching practice for many years. And I thought, well, it's really funny that everyone seems to have the same set of limiting beliefs and the same 5 sets of fear patterns, again, tied to the fact that we evolved to be good at survival. And that interrupts our ability to be happy or joyful or successful in life. And so I thought, let me understand the science. And the data just started confirming everything I found in the coaching. And I said, well, this is a book. I was searching for a way to have people begin to coach themselves through this. Because this is what the human journey is about. It's bringing all of that stuff that's beyond our conscious awareness into our current awareness so that we can live more powerfully, so that we have more choice about how we think, how we feel, if we get stopped or slowed down versus not, and we can always find a way to push through. And so that became the book 6 Weeks to Happy, and that was published last year. So I'm very excited to be here and share it with your audience. And it contains a methodology called the R.E.W.I.R.E System, which is a 6-week program where you get to learn the science of happiness, and you get to learn 3 tools per week to retrain your brain back to balance, back to calm, away from survival, so that you can actually remove the barriers to happiness and success and find your way there. So I'm very excited to be here and share it with you all.
Beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. I'm always fascinated on people's stories in terms of how did they get to what they are doing now. And my own journey has been what I do now and what I share, supporting other people and helping other people, has been because of my own journey of trying to figure out, how do I work? How does this being operate? And how does, my mind, my body, my feelings, my spirit, how all of that fits together, and understanding that in a sense, there's so much that, yes, we are unique, and at the same time, there's a lot of commonalities, and there's a lot of things, as you just mentioned, that there's patterns. And when we start to understand those underlying things, it's easier to see, there's these certain tendencies, or there's certain patterns of behaviors that most of us in society, we are living with because we've been conditioned within this system and with this civilization. And it's okay, how do I connect and go beyond that, or deeper, or behind it, whichever word resonates better for us? And understanding as well, a lot of times, which I think that this is really important, is what is the key that is going to unlock that for each and every single person. And I think that is what makes us sometimes, that, as you were saying, there's no one size fits all. It's for everyone, it's different. And there's all of these different keys there. And it's okay, which one is the one that is going to unlock it for me, at least for the next step? And I think that, I see this with so many of my clients and so many people just in general, as you were saying, this survival mode and this automatic pilot. People are just living very unconsciously, and then they, of course, are playing out all of these unconscious behaviors and all of these patterns, which then makes it difficult for them to live a more meaningful, fulfilling life that is actually unlocking their full potential as humans. So I think that it's always wonderful when we embark on that journey and someone, then it's oh, this is really helpful. I need to share this with people.
Yes.
So being able to do that, and finding your own way of doing that. So before we get into the book and the R.E.W.I.R.E System, I'd love to know a little bit about your experience, because I did my postgrad in neuroscience because I wanted to understand that as well.
Right.
Can you share with people a little bit in terms of your understanding and your trainings? What is neuroscience, and what's the importance of understanding how the brain works to understand potentially how we work as humans?
How we function. Yes, well, I think I'll probably go back to the triune brain theory, which is, we evolved as Homo sapiens sapiens. We evolved from, a particular line of animal species to arrive at this form that we're in today. And our brains evolved over time. And for me, it was the perfect example of why we seem to be in conflict all of the time. So we have our first brain is, you can call it the lizard brain, which is, it manages our stress response, our survival responses. It's called fight or flight. And so that's attached, from the brain through our nervous system, and it helps us in terms of survival. It keeps us safe and it keeps us protected. And how it works is, if we are facing a real physical danger like we used to in the past, it would act like a rush of adrenaline. We'd get a rush of adrenaline. This fight or flight response pushes like a gas pedal, and we can flee to safety if ever in danger. Great, that worked wonders. But in past, what used to happen is when we were actually safe, our brains would then signal our nervous system and our bodies to say everything is okay, there is no danger here, it's okay to be calm, and it would trigger our parasympathetic nervous system to release all of the, the natural calm neurochemicals that we need and bring us back to balance. Well, so what happens today now? We live in civil society. What happens to that stress response? Well, think of how much information is coming at you at any given moment. I mean, if you just take your phone as an example, we don't even have one email inbox now. We have personal, we have probably multiple personal, we have a work one as well. Then how many social media channels do we all engage with? And now each of them is direct messaging. So we have text, we have phone, we have WhatsApp, we have every social media channel, we have LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, the whole metaverse. And every time that phone pings, it's something requiring your time and your energy. So what do you think happens? A little bit of fight or flight is going to get pushed. And so we get triggered. And so everything that needs our time and our energy is constantly keeping us in fight or flight. So unknowingly, we have really trained ourselves to be really good at the stress response. And we have completely forgotten that we actually have a natural ability to return back to calm. So that's the first part of the brain. The second part of the brain, the mammalian brain, is more, what manages our emotions and feelings. Okay, so here already we have a disconnect. We have our stress response. We have another part of the brain that manages our emotions altogether. And then we have a third piece called the prefrontal cortex or the neocortex, which is the newest part of the brain. And that sort of manages our critical thinking, our decision making. So already you can see three different parts of the brain doing three different, holding three different sets of roles and responsibilities. Are they talking to each other? Are they working congruously? Are they incongruent? What's happening? And so it's a perfect example for what I was talking about at the intro, which is we evolved to be really good at survival. And what that means is, so we were 5% conscious mind, 95% unconscious, subconscious. I'll use those terms interchangeably depending on the conversation, just so that, it's essentially the same thing. So, and most of us live in this state. We wake up in the morning and we think, okay, I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to set myself these goals, whether it's in creating more wealth or getting into a better state of health or working my way into a new career or starting a business. These are, life goals. And so you wake up in the morning and you start to go through your day, and let's say whatever your morning routine is. Mine is I wake up, I put the coffee on. That's a absolute necessary thing for me to do in the morning, first thing. Then I'll go take my shower, then I'll meditate. That's not everyone's routine. Let's say you're in the shower, and what is your first set of thoughts telling you? Oh, I'm so tired. I wish I could get more sleep. mean, how many of us really even wake up feeling rested most days, right? Most of us are running depleted most of the time. And so you wake up saying, oh, I'm so tired. I'm not sure I'm going to get through the day. Okay, maybe today is not the day I start on working on that goal. Maybe today's the day I just take it easy. So it begins. So now these thoughts start, and with the thoughts are attached what? Feelings. Feelings come up. Your feelings in your physical body, those visceral responses. You feel your chest getting tighter. You feel yourself start to have your day's stress is already beginning. So, already the different segments of the brain are managing, how to process everything that's going on. Those thoughts and those feelings start getting bundled together. So your thoughts, I don't know if today's the day to start on my goals. What are the feelings that are going to go with that? What are the emotions? Well, it's not an emotion of gratitude in that moment. It's an emotion of disappointment, defeat, feeling deflated, feeling a little sad. Okay, I'll get on with my day. And so now those thoughts and feelings get bundled together over and over. And the brain is designed to be efficient. So it's going to take the least, the path of least resistance. And so those thoughts and feelings get bundled together, and then it results in an action or a set of behaviors. And those behaviors that go with today's not the day to start on my goals, and I don't feel good today, and I feel too tired to start today. The behaviors that go with that are, okay, today's not the day, I'm not going to start. I'm not going to take action towards the things that would really have me living a life that excited me. And so those thoughts and feelings and actions get bundled together, and that's called a neural pathway. So imagine like a neural pathway in your brain now saying, okay, I don't think I can. Today's not the day. I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling sad. Okay. Where the brain is amazing, though, is if you can actually learn the tools, and this is what I teach in the book, of how to retrain the brain and begin your day with an intention of, first of all, stepping into a powerful set of thoughts and feelings. What if instead of waking up on autopilot, because when you wake up like that and you're going down that road of already done it, already been there, you're in autopilot. You're in unconscious mode at that point, right? You're letting the 95% of your unconscious mind run the show in that case. And life is uninspired in that way if you're living unconsciously. What if instead you could learn the tools to wake up feeling rested, peaceful, grateful? I promise you, if you're feeling grateful, you cannot be stressed at the same time. You can be tired and stressed at the same time. You can feel, disappointed and stressed at the same time. But if you wake up intentionally, consciously choosing to be in a different mindset, to be in a different thought process, a different feeling set, it's a game changer. And where the brain is amazing is it will literally start to dismantle resources. So imagine your initial neural pathway, which is the unconscious one, which is saying, okay, not today, I don't feel good, it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to start my goal towards my goals today. This one has a lot of power. It's basically hardwired. And if you just start to create a whole new neural pathway that's more empowering on top of that says, you know what, today I feel good. Today, I am grateful for everything in my life right now. I feel so blessed. I feel like I have a ton of energy. I'm really going to take the time and apply myself today. Okay, now that's an empowering set of thoughts. So now what are the feelings that go along with this set of thoughts? Yes, you're feeling empowered. Yes, you're feeling motivated. Yes, you're feeling happy. You're feeling excited, even maybe nervous, but nervous excitement is good. And so these thoughts and feelings now get paired together, and you're starting to create a new neural pathway. But the brain wants to keep going here because that's the path of least resistance, and it's the shortest route because that's the one it knows best, and this is a new pathway. So what do? You have to keep consciously, literally reset every 10 minutes, just like being on a diet. Let's say you want to lose that last 10 pounds, and the last 10 pounds is the hardest always to lose. It's the one where you have to be really committed and really, really strict with yourself and have a ton of willpower. It's kind of like that. You really, if you fall off the wagon, no problem. Reset. And what the brain does that's so fascinating is it will literally take resources from that old pathway and reallocate them in as little as 10 minutes. So if you can just allow yourself to stay in that new mindset, remind yourself to get back, the brain will actually start to dismantle all the resources that went to the old version of you, and it'll start realigning them over here to your new thoughts, feelings. And what results in that is new behaviors, new, more empowering behaviors where you can really reach your peak potential, your human performance, your best self, living your best life. And so finding the tools to get there is fascinating. I hope I explained that well enough.
Yeah, no, that's great. That, I'm fascinating in a couple of things that you mentioned. And there's, one is our capacity for self-regulating. And as you mentioned, like we've been so conditioned in these ways of living that most people are still saying are living so unconsciously that it is hard for actually allowing the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in to allow that self-regulating that it's innate in our capacity. We have that. We have the capacity to get, to that place of activating the nervous system and all of the time going and going and going and allowing that stress to build up. And then for what most people are living with is that chronic stress, that capacity that we have for self-regulating. And the main thing with that for me is always that we all have that capacity. We just need to find the way that allows that. And the other thing that is the same is, as you're mentioning from that, those neural pathways, the fact that our brain, for all of us, has that plasticity, like to be able to build those new pathways, to be able to understand, okay, like if I'm, as you're saying, like I usually use the terms of like I have this avenue or this highway, and then it's like, okay, I need to build the shortcuts and I need to build, what's the side street that I can go. And that's the new behavior. And to be able to actually make that, like from a fat perspective in the brain, like make that fat so that then the energy is actually, or the electricity is finding that new pathway. Then it's like, okay, I need to use that side street more and more and more and more until, yes, we have that. And the crazy thing is that like our brain is so plastic that we have that capacity. And as you say, we just need to find the way to unlock that. What's the set of behaviors or what's the sets of new habits and patterns that we need to implement so that we can get to that place. And, for me, the truly empowering thing is that we all have that capacity. Yes, we might need to learn or relearn certain behaviors or ways of doing things, yet it's in our power. And that for me is all of the time so amazing that each of us has that capacity and all of our brains have that capacity, all of our bodies, and the importance of understanding, taking time to understand this and to reflect and to see like, oh, is this, as you're saying, is this routine or this morning routine or whatever I'm doing during the day, is this actually serving me? Is this supporting me? Is this actually making me see that life can be amazing, can be wonderful, can, and as you're saying, that gratitude, being able to bring that into life. It's like, am I seeing that, or am I just, as I wake up, already getting into, oh, this is the list of the things that I need to do, already starting to stress out, already starting to get into that place that will bring up all of these patterns of behavior, including, as you're saying, that thought feeling patterns that now they are built in together because we haven't actually felt them and we haven't actually realized what are those thoughts and why are they here, and can I actually change my focus so that I can be aware of something different. So like I think that it's so important, and I want to as we're saying all of this, if you wouldn't mind sharing that rewire, and I love that because I mean that's the rewiring as well of the brain and all of those pathways. What does that look like, and how can people see and implement this into their lives?
Well, thank you. And everything you're saying is exactly right. I think of it like training a muscle, right? we have trained our stress response, unknowingly trained our stress response and strengthened our stress response over time. And we haven't done the same with the calm. So that's just one piece of it. So I developed the R.E.W.I.R.E system because I thought, I was tired of going to, a weekend course or a week-long course, and you get a little nugget here and there, or read a book and you get, a couple of good pieces or a couple of good tools, but it just wasn't a complete enough picture. And I thought, how can I give people everything that they need from so many different disciplines so that they can start the work of integrating the conscious and the unconscious mind and really have the tools to understand? Because, you can go to the gym and you can train, but unless you have an education of what it is to have the correct form, you take your performance from here to there, right? Every great entrepreneur I know has a business coach. Every great athlete has a team of coaches, and this is normal. And we as humans, we get coaching when we're little, but somehow as an adult, figure it out. You're
an adult now.
And so I thought, let me develop a system. And so you mentioned neuroplasticity, and I'll explain what that is. So, we have in the latest 50 years, we have discovered that the brain is not actually static. The brain is dynamic. It's changeable. It's malleable over time. And we have studied through fMRI and different brain scans that are, more current, that we can actually see lasting signs of changes in the brain at around the 35 to 42 day period, which is 42 days, 6 weeks. So I developed a 6-week system so that you can take this away and you can create lasting change for yourself. So R.E.W.I.R.E, it's called the R.E.W.I.R.E system, and R.E.W.I.R.E is an acronym, 6 letters, to retrain, rewire the brain, rewire that neurology to a more empowering, more excited, more happy you, so that really you can have a life where you're thriving. So the first R in R.E.W.I.R.E is for relax and quiet the mind. And so you learn, before you even go through the 6-week program, you learn the science of happiness. You learn all of the basics of how the brain works, how the brain processes thoughts and feelings, and even memories. You learn about the unconscious, subconscious, and the conscious mind. You learn about fight or flight. So you're getting all of this detail in the book already. And then you go into the R.E.W.I.R.E program. And that first module is really about, oh my gosh, if you're so stressed and those little voices in your head are constantly popping off saying, today's not the day, I'm too tired, let's not do it today, you're not going anywhere. And if you're stressed, you're going to be less productive anyway. So the first thing we do is start to develop a sense of mindfulness. We use meditative techniques, and, meditation is a funny one because it's not really a spiritual practice. It has Eastern roots, sure, but it's really about learning to quiet those little voices in your mind so you have some space to even think. And when you're able to do that in the right way, and there's lots of different ways you can meditate. I used to think, even when I started writing the book, I used to think you have to sit in yogi position and, do it in this particular way. You have to stop the flow of thoughts. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If you're fine, you can do a walking meditation. I've met people that go out on a long bike ride or go ground with nature. Or when they take the dogs out, it's a peaceful time. They're feeling the sun on their face, which energizes us. They're, out with nature. They're grounding with that calming natural energy of the earth. So there are many different ways you can do it. So just suspend your disbelief for a minute. And so right in week 1, you learn the tools to start to quiet the mind. And I don't wait until week 3 or 4 to go into these unconscious patterns and the fear patterns that I was talking about. So what I discovered in my coaching practice is every single person had some combination of 1, 2, or 3 of these fear patterns and limiting beliefs that are tied together, and they really, really stop you from living your best life. So, and I'll just cover off the 5 really quickly. I won't have enough time to go through a detailed explanation, but I'll explain it enough. And I go into countless explanations and case studies in the book, so you can't not see it for yourself. And the genius about this is anything that was in your unconscious before means you weren't seeing it, you weren't aware of it at all because it wasn't in your conscious awareness. So if it's in your unconscious, It's running on autopilot. It's running the show. And so the first, the five main buckets are I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, some version of that. And it can be I'm not thin enough, not, handsome or pretty enough, not talented enough, not smart enough, not good enough, not rich enough, not whatever. But it doesn't always sound like that, right? It might sound like, oh, I'd love to start a new business. I have a great idea for a business, but I just don't have the business acumen. I don't have the financial resources. I don't think I have the capability to really see it through. So it sounds a little different than what you think it is. But at the core, when you chunk it up into the abstract, it's some form of I'm not enough to do X. Okay. The next one is I'm alone. I'm alone in this world. I'm unsupported. There's no one around. It's all me. Well, it doesn't show up sounding like that. It would probably sound something like, and we all know people that say this. I was one of them too. And it would sound something like, if I want something done right, I have to do it myself. I had a troubled childhood. There was really no one around to be there for me. I kind of had to learn how to do things on my own. This is the story and how it shows up in life mostly, right? It doesn't show up as I'm not alone, I don't have support. It sounds like I usually have to do things on my own. Well, okay, so let's just take, what are the three major things that people want in life? You want better health. Everyone wants better health, right? We want love and connection, but I don't mean like just to be in a relationship for relationship's sake. I mean to feel loved and seen and valued and heard and important and supported and adored and cherished. Like this is your person. This is your home. You can't imagine your heart or your life without them. That type of love and connection. And yet there are so many people I've met over the years that can walk into a room and still feel alone. A room full of people and still feel alone, or that can be in a relationship and still feel alone. So if this is your unconscious story that's playing in your background, how do you think you're going to operate in love? Do you think that you're going to be able to be vulnerable and open-hearted and really truly allow someone to be there for you? Because everyone wants to feel valued. If you and I were in a relationship, I would need for you to feel like you could depend on me and vice versa, right? But if you have this underlying story that's running in your unconscious saying, I'm alone in this world, I don't have support, well, that's going to play out in your relationship. And the thing about these fear patterns is, so you have this limiting belief called I'm alone, but then there's a whole bunch of behaviors that are attached to that. So how do you behave at work? How do you behave in a relationship? How do you behave with yourself, with your loved ones in the greater world? Well, if you have an underlying belief that you're alone at work, are you going to really rely on your team? Are you going to empower your teams to do what they need to do so that you can work well together? Because if you have an underlying story that you're alone and you have to do everything yourself, my God, isn't that exhausting? Like, if you're a parent and you have kids and a job and a house to look after and a life to live, where do you find time for it all when you're doing everything by yourself? It's absolutely exhausting. So that's number two. The third one that I found is I'm not safe. Some version of the wording, and it doesn't show up like that. And then I'm not deserving of love, or I'm not lovable, and then I'm not deserving of wealth or abundance. And again, it doesn't sound like that. How it's going to show up in your life is, oh, those people have a really big vision. I don't think most people are supposed to have that much money, or, and the thing is, we've talked about the unconscious and the conscious mind. And so in week one, we get to really find the key, as you said, to unlock what your fear patterns are, what your limiting beliefs are. And so that you can see in all of these case studies and all of these different permutations of these 5 fear patterns, what your pattern is, so that you can unlock it. Because what once was unconscious, once you bring it to your conscious awareness, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And it's magical, because this has been your barrier to success all along. So all along, you're walking down this highway, you're trying to get to your goal, and you have these huge roadblocks in front of you, and you simply can't figure out how to get around them. And now all of a sudden you find the door and you can walk through it, or you can just pick up the obstacle and just move it. It's really that simple. It sounds like it shouldn't be, but I promise you it is so simple. Once you bring something into your conscious awareness and you see literally every area of that life wheel, your career, your finances, social community, intellectual stimulation, relationships, health, once you see how it plays out in all areas of your life, you can't unsee it. And once you see it, it no longer runs you. You get to step into the driver's seat and you get to run your life your way. So that's all in week one.
Wow. Yeah.
We start with a bang.
Yeah. Before we get into the second step, I think that, it's so interesting because a lot of times when we get into actually bringing something into light, sometimes it can dissolve it, or it can allow it not to have a hold on us anymore. And as you say, those fears and those patterns of behaviors that are, coming from those fears are just completely unconscious for most people. And it's like, as you say, sometimes if someone is like, I heard that this is, like I'm not enough, like everyone has heard these things, but perhaps they haven't heard it in a way that they are playing it out. Therefore, they can't connect it. And once something is brought into light, it's like, now I can see this. Now I can do something about it. This is as like, that difference of living consciously and living unconsciously and an autopilot is now I have that choice. Now I can be like, do I want to live with that fear and like permeating all of my life, or do I want to move on? And the more that we can bring that awareness into life, it changes everything. And as you were saying, meditation is one of the main things that I work with. Meditation for me always it's about a state of being. It's about developing awareness. How does it look like? Well, a lot of different ways, as you're saying. I can be sitting down, closing my eyes, putting incense or nice music, or I can just go and, play sports and connect to that place that in sports is, being in the zone. Or whatever it is how to come back to that place of connection that allows awareness to expand and allows one to actually connect with what is, instead of just running amok with all of these patterns of behaviors that are not really supporting us. So I think that, like for a lot of people, once they're able to bring this into life and into light, then it can start to change a lot. So I'm excited to hear step 2, the E.
Well, step 1, we get into some big stuff, but I think most people fear change because they think it's going to create a drastic shift in their life. I promise you, I'm the biggest skeptic. I need to see results before I can believe something, and I need things to be quick and powerful. And so this is the approach I took in this book. Was I wanted to bring the simplest, easiest, but most powerful tools to everyone so that they can see rapid change. And I promise you it works. The second week, we get into the E, the first E in Rewire, which is eliminating the noise. And so in week 2, we talk about the fact that we are energetic beings, but, and I also talk about the 4 bodies, so spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. So spiritual, you can think of it, if you are spiritual or religious, you can think about it as the spirit body. You can also think about it, if you just believe in science and the universe, as the energetic body. Regardless, science and spirituality meet here. So it's fascinating because now you're starting to work with the field of energy, and you're starting to work with universal energy and how we can shift our own vibration, expand our own consciousness so that we're vibrating in alignment with the universe to attract what we want versus constantly in conflict. So in week 2, you learn about ego depletion and what are the sorts of things that deplete your energy, and what are the sorts of things that replete and restore our energy, because we are like a battery. we cannot run on empty for long, because what happens if we do that is when we are depleted of energy, first of all, our willpower is highest in the morning, it's lowest in the evening. And when you're running on empty for a really long time, your willpower is going to be at a very, very minimal level. So if your willpower is low and you're starting a new diet, that's not going to work. If your willpower is low and you're starting a new business, your commitment is going to be tested all the time, right? So learning how to manage your energy is very important. And why this is challenging is, again, because we didn't get a recipe for happiness or success in life. We got a very basic set of instructions. Most of us got this: do well in school, maybe do well at sports, and then you're going to choose a college or university. You're going to pick a major and pick a career. Then you're going to start in that job. You're going to work your way up the corporate ladder, and then you're going to need a relationship. You're going to have the house, the car, the kids. And at some point, happiness is just supposed to miraculously show up for you. Who's going to deliver it? Amazon? I don't know, right? So it doesn't work that way. And so what ends up happening is when we take that path with such little inspiration and little understanding of what it is that really makes us personally happy, we end up living either somebody else's life or in somebody else's expectations. And so we start off waking up exhausted. So we're already ego depleted and energy depleted. So you learn the tools to regulate your energy better and create some time and space so that you can actually recharge. And once you're recharged, you can actually begin working towards your goals. And the second thing you learn is really just how to eliminate the noise in your life. So how to edit your life in terms of developing your intuition, developing your self-awareness. So there's some tools to help you understand what it means to be mindful and how to actually do that for yourself so that you're making choices that align with who you are choosing to be, who you are wanting to become versus what you've always been in your unconscious world. So that's in week 2. In week 3, you really get into that particular personal plan. What is it that you need in order for you to really be happy? And so I give you a whole set of tools and help you map out in a very, very process-oriented, almost corporate fashion. I give you the tools to map out in hours per day or per week, how much time do you need to really feel your best? Now, if we were living in autopilot or you're waking up tired, okay, that's an uninspired life. If you're on a diet and you can't get into it, and you keep failing at something, you keep failing at your goals, whether they're wealth goals or health goals or love goals, well, that's a place of despair and sadness and disappointment. And it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle that just continues and continues. So in this week, we really dive into, okay, but let's just imagine for a moment, what would your life be if you were really thriving, like your most passionate, living, excited life, where you wake up every day, maybe not jumping for joy, but where you wake up excited about the day ahead versus, again, uninspired or feeling lethargic, towards your own life. And I think most people go through life that way because we're in this cycle of survival all the time. And so in week 3, you get into what is your personal plan, and you get some tools to really map all of that out. So now week 1, we have removed the barriers to your success. We've learned to quiet the mind. In week 2, you learn even more how to manage and regulate your energy. So if you're regulating your energy, guess what? You can regulate your moods. You can regulate your emotions better. In week 3, we get into who are you really? And what are the things that make you happy? What are the things that make you feel excited in your life? And then in week 4, we say, okay, now we have a wide open space. What can you imagine for your life? Now that all of this noise is gone, what do you want for your life? And we actually go into different types of visualization techniques where you can map out a whole new architecture for your life, like building a new home. What is your design for a new life? And then in week 5, we get into 3 tools about creating a daily practice. Again, it's a 6-week pattern to retrain the brain so that you actually come to a place of neuroplasticity where you've created new neural pathways, new thoughts, new feelings, new behaviors that achieve a much more powerful result for your life. I think when most people want wealth, they're not looking at attaining money. They're looking to attain the feelings that go along with what that would bring to them. So what that would bring to them is freedom of worry. Over 92% of Americans, for example, don't have a retirement plan. Imagine how much stress it is living from paycheck to paycheck, not having a financial plan. Now, on the flip side, imagine a whole new life for yourself where you can wake up knowing your bills are paid, that your children's education is covered, that your financial future is okay. What a different place that would be. You wake up now free of worry, certain that you have everything you need and all of your basic needs met. It's a very, very different place to live from, much more empowering than the previous unconscious version. And so you have to create that daily practice so that you can retrain the brain over that 6 weeks. And again, it's personal. So we go into 3 tools for how to personalize that for you, as long as you're keeping, and I have a whole checklist for as long as you're keeping these 3 things in check, for example, you'll be fine. And then the final week is, okay, we've imagined a whole new life for you. We've removed the noise. We've eliminated all of the extra stuff that was taking too much time and energy. Most people think everything is urgent. It's not. It's just a matter of shifting priorities and shifting perspective and shifting mindset. So in week 6, just because I am who I am, and I would do this for myself, I said, why don't we go bigger? Why not? Most of us have a construct of the world. So we live in this little box called, this is who I am. These are my limitations. This is how much money I can make. This is the kind of lifestyle and quality of life I can have. Here's how I might help people. But what if those walls were pulled down and now you have limitless possibilities? And we get into chapter 4 where you start imagining your new life. And now you're having practice with these techniques. And now you're starting to, you've retrained back to calm. You're more and more excited about your life. You found some peace. Okay. Well, now let's go back to that conversation of those highly successful people that achieved an extreme amount of success, whether it was in athletics or in business or whatever. Who is to say you couldn't have such a grand vision of life for yourself? If that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy. It's not for everyone. Some people are perfectly happy, driving around the country in a caravan. Okay, if that's your bliss and you like camping, by all means, do that. Do what makes you happy. Do what resonates for you. But for the rest of us who wouldn't dare dream bigger, let's go bigger anyway. And then there's a whole set of tools to keep you in that vibration, because I don't want anyone slipping back. We don't want to go back to autopilot, disappointment, and despair. We want to stay up here. We want to wake up feeling grateful. We want to suspend our disbelief and just have that feeling that we absolutely have that deep knowing we can achieve anything that we want. All we need is time, energy, and the right resources, and anything can happen. And so that's the R.E.W.I.R.E system, is you learn all of those tools to learn how to do it for yourself.
Beautiful. And I love that, because I often ask myself, and I ask a lot of my clients, what's the grandest version of your life, and how, we can get to that place, because it is possible. We just have those limiting beliefs that are not allowing that. And I think that one of the key things that a lot of times I talk to a lot of people is, yes, now you have heard about this R.E.W.I.R.E system. Put it into practice, because if we don't put it into practice, then we are not bringing into light those unconscious behaviors, those unconscious patterns, and B, we're not going to change those neural pathways. We're not going to change our ways if we are actually not implementing the new. So this is, in a sense, why conscious action is so important for me, because yes, the awareness is there and it's wonderful. And also we need to activate, we need to put things into action, because if I don't change, then nothing will change. So I think that it's wonderful. And I would love to talk a lot more, but I'm just aware of our time, and I want to honor that. So Sarah, for everyone that is interested in learning more and going deeper into this, where can they find the book, and where can they actually work more with this?
Oh, thank you. Well, yes, you can just go to 6weekstohappy.com, and we actually have a free downloadable ebook for you guys, so you can start mapping out your personal plan to happiness. And once you map it out, I promise you're going to start to feel so much more enlivened and excited about your own life. It's going to give you that momentum you need. And get the book. The book is actually turning into a live 6-week coaching program where I do live coaching and a live Q&A with you. So I'm very, very excited. All you have to do is go to 6weekstohappy.com and get on the road to happiness and success today.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we'll put those links on the show notes so that everybody has access to it. And for everybody that is listening or watching this, I'd love to know what resonated with you. Was there any of the steps that you thought, oh, that was really interesting, or I haven't thought of this before? And let us know if you're already implementing some of this, and perhaps it's, you use a different language or a different way, and how you are doing with this. So yeah, let us know about that. And Sarah, thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us, and for, I think that, this is so important, especially nowadays with everything keeps on changing, and people, as you're saying, most people are living so unconsciously. So bringing more of this light and these ways that actually are actionable is so powerful. So thank you for being here with us and for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And let me know how I can support you in any way. Thank you for being such an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.